Hi, everybody. Welcome to Revitalise Meets, the business podcast series, where I get the opportunity to meet business professionals, entrepreneurs from across the global business network. And today I'm with a lady who is an author, a leader, a manager, and a trainer. She's a successful leadership coach, and she's been transforming change with many business owners across the pond, across the globe. Can you please welcome with us today the one, yes, but as always, the only, Kelly Meerbott. Kelly, how are you today?
I'm wonderful to be able to spend time with somebody like you, especially because I love the UK and I just love what you're doing with your podcast, Lee. How could it not be a great day, right?
Oh, thank you very much. That has made my day. That has, Kelly. Thank you so much for that one. Kelly, it's been great to get to know you a lot better over the last few months. And we've just had a great conversation prior to this podcast recording, finding some interesting similar facts about each other's sort of interests, really, more than anything else. Would you mind sharing with everybody who's watching and listening today a little bit about your business journey today and where you are right now?
Sure, absolutely. And thank you for asking. Yeah, and the little moments that Lee and I had, which maybe we'll share, maybe we won't, are little connection points that we both have. And I love finding those. So it's actually interesting, Lee, because last Thursday, the 20th of January, was my 13th year in business. And thank you. That was the anniversary of me getting laid off with 30,000 of my closest friends in corporate. And at the time, I was working as sales, promotions, marketing, training for sales teams. And basically what that meant was I was working for this large, actually the world's largest media conglomerate. And anytime they would get like a pissed off client or a new person who was selling, they would put them with me. And the pissed off client part, I would be like, is this a joke? Are y'all trying to like haze me or induct me into some kind of secret society? But I got so good at it that what would end up happening is my sales cycle was like so long, Lee, that by the end of it, they would be spending 300% more because I had focused on the relationship and repairing the relationship. Because most of the issues with these disgruntled clients was they didn't feel seen, heard, or appreciated, right? So when this venture capital firm came in and bought the company in 2008, October of 2008, I was like, oh, all my clients are spending money in 2008. Like, I've recovered all this money in just one of your local markets. I've trained all these people. Couldn't possibly be me. I couldn't possibly be one of the ones getting laid off. And sure enough, 9:00 Tuesday, January 20th, 2009. And I'll never forget it because it was a historic day in our country because President Obama was being inaugurated. And I got a tap on my shoulder. I was sitting in my cubicle. And the gentleman who I didn't know at the time, but he was taking my place, said, your boss wants to see you in his office. And I get walked into his office and he's sitting behind his desk. There's 2 chairs in front of him, right? And the marketing director is sitting in the left chair. I sit down in the right one. And he hands me a manila envelope with my name on it and says, you have 10 days to review this with your attorney and sign it. And I was like, wait, what? And he said, I said, why me? Because I knew it couldn't possibly be because of performance, because I had the numbers to back it up. And he said, we put your numbers through a corporate budget matrix and you didn't make the cut. And I did something that I've never done before in my life, with the exception of now, because I work with the military and I do use profanity as a fact and a tool. But I looked at him and I said, that's bullshit and you know it. And he said, you have 10 days to review this with your attorney and sign it. So I went back to my cubicle, picked up my wedding picture, picked up my external hard drive and was walked out. I've never been walked out before, which is interesting because now I teach companies how to lay off their people in a humane way, in a better way, just because of the experience I had. And then I went home and I cried for 7 days. I grieved it. And my husband at that time was He was enlisted with the United States Navy and was working with the 9/11 detainees in Guantanamo Bay, and I couldn't get a hold of him. And finally, on the 7th day, our golden retriever, Murphy, at the time, put her head in my lap and looked at me. And I know I'm making this up and humanizing her, but the look said, "You smell," because I hadn't showered. And you need to get up and like figure out what you want to do with your life. So I got in the shower, and as I'm showering and shampooing my hair, this thought came through my mind that I wanted to do something different with my life. I wanted to do something more life affirming, but I didn't know what that was. So I had heard of this man named Steve Chandler, who is a success coach to Fortune 100s. He's published something ridiculous, like 40 books. They call him the godfather of coaching, blah, 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 blah. I get on his website, buy this. Now, again, I'm going to date myself here. 12 disc CD set, which was a success course called, right, CDs, Mind Shift. And basically it was to shift your mind. And with that, you got a gift with purchase, which was a 90-minute coaching session with a coach. And her name was Charisse McCrory. And I got on the phone with her, and she held up a mirror to me and basically showed me the gaps and blind spots that I needed to fill in, and inspired me to be a coach through our work, and showed me that coaching and training and being an instrument of transformation can look whatever it looks like to you. Meaning, like for some people, they focus on life coaching, they focus on ADHD coaching, they focus on, trauma coaching. For me, I wanted to focus on changing the corporate conversation based on how I showed up energetically. And that's literally what I did. And then I went to, I enrolled in a 175-hour coaching course. And that's the certificate right there. And it was, meeting every demon, everything that you don't want to come face to face with. You came face to face with it. Plus they taught you the techniques. Plus they gave you practical experience. We walked in the first day and they said, "Okay, you want to be coaches? Leave this room and don't come back until you get a client that pays you." And I was like, "Wait, what?" So I found myself in this coffee shop in Chicago, because that's where the coaching academy was. And I literally just told myself, remember, sales is just a conversation. Who can you get into conversation with? And so I started talking to people, and I said, I'm a new coach. I want to demo my skills. Would you be willing to give me 15 minutes of your time? And the response was always yes. And what does it cost? And I said, nothing. However, if at the end of our time together, you feel like I've given you some value and you're moved to give me whatever you're moved to give me. And Lee, this is one thing I regret, and I don't have a lot of regrets in my life, but this is one thing I regret, is I regret not keeping the crumpled up nasty dollar bill that this first guy paid me with, because it didn't matter that it was crumpled up and nasty, but that was the token that I was a paid professional coach. And I sat there and I did that for about 6 hours before I returned back to the classroom. And I'll never forget it. The guy I ended with, like that 6-hour kind of marathon sprint, passed a $50 bill across the table to me and looked me in the eyes and said, "You found your calling."
Brilliant.
And I was like, and then we went back to the classroom, and there were people who couldn't do it. And that was part of the exercise, is that mental hurdle, getting over that mental hurdle of asking for money and delivering value and all of that. And they basically wove in the theory on the back end and used it as teachable moments, which I think is really powerful, because it wasn't just, okay, we're going to teach you how the techniques of coaching. We're going to teach you the tenets. We're going to teach you like all the ethics. They also taught us how to build a business and the importance of the sales and marketing piece of it, which a lot of these coaching programs unfortunately have that piece missing, which is why a lot of coaches struggle to build their businesses. So that's the story. And, I can say with confidence, pride, and, just joy that this business has been built very similar to the way you and I met, through word of mouth and referral, period. You know, I've never done any marketing. I mean, like, we do social media marketing because we have to, but we don't buy paid ads. We don't buy leads. We don't do any of that. If a client wants me, they either get referred by somebody in my network, or they find me. Somehow they find me. That's how the military found me. I met a woman 5 years before for 2 hours. She remembered me, called me, and asked me if I wanted to participate. And I said, yes. That was it. So,
yeah. Do you know, it's so important now as well. It's the power of the people that you have around you.
yes.
And it's about asking many questions to get your answer. But also you've mentioned there as well, and kudos to yourself, really, Kelly. It's about, practice. Keep asking the questions, keep tapping on the door, and you get a response, you get a yes to it. And have a coach to set a challenge for you to go out there, meet people. That's what has to happen. And we all come through these challenges, and these ideas start to formulate and start to happen, but only you can make it happen. And it's so true. The worlds that we live in now, the strength and the power of the spoken word to one another, the recommendation from somebody about what you've done and how you've done it, is a lot stronger than what you see that's passed over by a video or an advert. It's actually literally living the real life, and by meeting people. So really well done to where you are now and what you've done through that journey and those challenges. And thank you so much for sharing that. I really do appreciate it. From everything that you've done, though, what's been your biggest achievement from the challenge that you had? What's real pinnacle for? I mean, getting $1 bill crumpled up and put in your hands and being set that challenge, but there must be something more than that as well, just to add in.
I mean, I would say 13 years in business for myself is a huge accomplishment. I mean, I said that last week to my husband, that I really thought we were going to fail in the first year. Like, I didn't expect, and based on the people, you talk about the people around you. And that's why I always say, curate the voices you're listening to in your life, meaning everywhere. Like, who are you spending time with? Who are you listening to and following on social media? Are you listening to mass media? Like, what is influencing your thought? And at that time in 2009, if you remember, I mean, again, like, we're dating ourselves here, but it was at the time the worst recession that the world had experienced since World War II. So I had people going, are you nuts? You're going to start a business? My own family was like, you're going to do what? You're going to coach? Now, my dad's a former professional athlete, so he's had coaches around him forever. And I was like, he would be the one that would get it. Nope. Everybody was telling me I was crazy. And like, I don't know what that does for you, but for me, I'm like, watch, just sit back, get out of my way and watch. And like, here we are 13 years later, and we're coaching, like I said, high-ranking officers in the military, Department of Homeland Security, Department of Transportation, FEMA, pharma. We've got several clients that are in the nonprofit sector individually. I do speaking engagements. We're writing a book. I mean, like, all of this stuff. And then I would say, and this has not been made public, but I guess I'll make it public on your channel. We just got accepted to do a TEDx talk. So I'll be doing a TEDx talk at TEDx UCO, which is the University of Central Oklahoma in Edmond, Oklahoma, on April 14th, 2022. So to me, like, that's a huge accomplishment. But I think really every day I get to do this work is an accomplishment in itself.
Congratulations on that. Yeah, I mean, but you've got to that challenge. Well, you got to that achievement by challenging yourself every single day. And it's, when someone says to you, really, you're going to do that? Wow, really? You're going to take on that hill? Yeah, I'm going to take on that hill. I'm going to give it the best shot I've got. There's only one person who can make the decision on that. That's me, and I'm going to make it happen. It's just get it done. As many people say, just get it organized and get on with it and make it happen for yourself. So really congratulations. And I hope everything goes well for your 10X talk as well. Because no doubt you'll knock it out the park and beyond from there as well.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And to dovetail about what you were saying about, I'm one of those people, Lee, that I'd rather die on that hill trying than lay on my deathbed and go, what if I tried climbing that hill?
Yeah.
To me, the what if is the thing that scares me the most, because I don't want to leave this planet, this reality, whatever, having anything left in the tank. Like I said to my sister yesterday, I said, I hope I die with a negative balance in my bank account. Like I really do, because what am I going to do? Take it with me? Like, so I think don't allow fear to prevent you from climbing that hill, and don't allow people who aren't you and haven't walked in your shoes or your skin or had your lived experiences dictate where you should go in life. Don't do that. Follow your gut and your heart.
Yeah, it's like what we say, it's not a dress rehearsal. This is the main show, everybody. This is it, the main show. We'll make it happen right now. So thanks for sharing that. Appreciate it, as always.
Yeah, of course.
We're living in quite a hybrid world now as well. And what I wanted to ask you is that, we're talking now on Zoom, we're recording. This is a podcast for the audio, etc. as well. And people can view it on our YouTube channel. But how have you adapted your business? Has it took another level of expansion working online for yourself now?
Well, it's actually made it easier for us because, like I said, I'm working with the military, which means I've got people in Turkey, I've got people in Italy, I've got people in the UK. And what it's done is it's allowed me to be able to sign on, let's just say at 8:00 in the morning, and coach all over the world without having to leave my office. And that is not understand that's not an agoraphobia thing. It is an efficiency thing where I'm able to serve more people because I don't have to spend time driving in traffic or getting to an office or whatever to be in person. So it's normalized that. It's given us great content because, one of the great things you can do with Zoom is record and chop it up and transcribe it and create all this great stuff. It's expanded my network internationally, which has been, a key priority for us is to, make sure people are aware of us in the UK because my people come from Scotland and Ireland. So I got to give a nod to all of my ancestors and angels that come from your incredible land. So I think the expansion is it's enabled us to serve more globally, but also it's allowed us to be more efficient with our time, and that's pretty much it. Now, there are a handful of clients that I do see on in person. Like for instance, I was just hired by a company called floodproofing.com that wants me to do a talk on building cohesive teams and using emotional intelligence to do that. Now, for me, and I'm sure just like you, motivational talks or workshops in general tend to be more powerful in person because of the energetic transfer. It can be done obviously through Zoom, but it's just more powerful when you're there, in person. However, I think one-on-one coaching, I can deliver the amount of value the same way I am as if I were in person. So and of course, the other thing is, we've been working on, and this is probably not going to come out until next year, but like a series of online courses where people who maybe do not have the resources or the access to hire me one-on-one can still have access to my mental real estate through on-demand courses and coaching that way.
I think it's what it's created for us as well. And it's again, we've got all these tools to use that around us, from online courses to being able to deliver a one-on-one coaching session online, but then also having a multiple Zoom room if need be. But I think it's given us a lot more time rich.
Yes.
To many business professionals I speak to now is actually there's more time in the tank than what I had before. They're not traveling, as we used to call downtime. I was traveling just last week up and down the motorway to see my family. But again, when I've got downtime, I make phone calls from the car of a list and have things to do. So I think that traveling aspect, like what we're doing now, speaking across the pond to one another would be something different if it was like face to face, flying or being at a conference and things like that, really. So I think it's great the way we have adapted to expand our business, but also to open up the geography even further, which of course in turn gives us more opportunities to choose from as well. So thanks for sharing that one. Now, one of the questions from today, really, and it's one of the ones that we've put about today's chat also, is really about change.
Okay.
And I was wondering if you'd be able to provide for everybody who's watching, everybody who's listening today, what would be your top 3 golden tips to somebody out there that's looking to make the change for this year of 2022? What would be your top 3 golden tips for them?
Okay, so I have 2 right off the top of my head. So one is baby steps create forward momentum, meaning change does not have to be a huge leap. It could be just a small baby step forward. And it could be something as simple as, let's just use your example of being on the motorway and traveling, right? And I don't know, you've been a little bit nervous to call somebody and you have them on your list and you just make the commitment that you're going to dial that number, right? And you're going to hit send. That's a baby step, right? And you've moved forward because small incremental change over time. And we believe at our business at You Loud and Clear and at kellymeerbott.com that Kaizen, which is the Japanese form of change management, it's continuous, consistent change over time, but it's small incremental change. So at the end of the year, you look back and you go, I thought I was baby stepping, but I actually ran a marathon. You know what I mean? So don't think it has to be this huge thing. It could be one small thing. The second thing I always tell my clients is leadership and change is about 2 things. If you can master these 2 things, everything else can fall into place. And the first one is emotional regulation. So what does that mean? As my central nervous system calm, regulated enough for me to make a clear, good decision in a good mind space. So for example, when my grandfather passed in 2015, I had on the day of his wake, I had a speaking engagement scheduled because, death doesn't come on schedule.
No.
And, I knew at that time I was not in the best emotional state to deliver a talk on stress management like that. You know what I mean? So I had to reschedule it, and that was fine with the company and they completely understood, but I knew that I needed to get myself calm, clear, and grounded. So whatever you need to do to get yourself regulated, do that, because we know whenever there's a perceived threat, the amygdala lights up, right? And it says, Mayday, Mayday, there's danger. Right. And then the body goes, send out cortisol and adrenaline to protect us. Well, what we don't know, what a lot of people don't know, is it takes the body 30 minutes to metabolize that. So like if you and your partner, you and your spouse get in a fight, right? You want to go into your separate corners and relax for 30 minutes so your body can metabolize that and you're not hijacked in your nervous system, and then go back and reapproach. So that's the first thing. Then energy management, I don't believe in time management because time is a man-invented thing. Yeah. I believe in energy management. So there's a lot of times you'll hear people say, oh, Lee, you're burnt out, you got to refill your cup. I don't believe that. I believe that your cup, and we'll just use this cup as an example, needs to be at 100% at all times, right? So what does that mean? That means hypothetically, you and I are walking down the middle of Dublin, right? And you're walking in the opposite direction and I'm walking this way, right? And we energetically bump into each other. And I am operating at 115% energy level. You're at 85. When we bump into each other, that extra 15% overflow gets poured into you. Now, what are you operating at?
100%.
Right. And I'm operating 100%, right? You get my overspill. See, people think that they need to dip into their stores to help others, you don't. They get your overspill. You should always be full. And if you aren't, get yourself to 100 as quickly as possible. So that's the second tip. And then the third tip is, remember that fear, and this is a great acronym, false evidence appearing real. So our ego minds and that your lizard brain, your amygdala, whatever you want to call it, is negatively wired to protect us, right? So the perceived threat we were just talking about back in the day when we lived in caves, right? And there's a saber-toothed tiger and Lee's family's living next door and they have little kids that look like really good appetizers for this saber-toothed tiger. I'm knocking on the wall going, get out, right? Because the ego mind is saying we got to protect ourselves.
Yeah.
Well, right now in the world we're living in, believe it or not, we've built the safest world we live in possible in history, but we are the most afraid.
Yeah.
Because we've imbibed so much messaging from external forces. So that goes back to, do not allow fear, which is usually fueled by something external, whether it's a perceived threat or the media or my parents telling me I'm crazy for becoming a coach or so, don't listen to that. Mm-hmm. Drop down into your inner wisdom, because your ego shouts, but your wisdom whispers. You want to listen to the whisper of your wisdom and be guided by that.
Yeah.
So that's a long way of saying, don't let fear drive your life. Just don't.
Yeah. Drive what you believe in and not looking at external forces that don't have any effect on what you're doing, etc. as well. So yeah, very good.
Most of them are made up too.
True. They're in here. Yeah.
Right. So I'll use a quote from one of my favorite teachers, Byron Katie. I love her. And my husband loves this quote so much, he tattooed it on his forearm. And it's, reality is kinder than the imagination. Reality is kind, and it's true. Yeah. It's always true.
Very true indeed.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing your top 3 tips. And who was watching and listening out there, make a note of those and put those into play if you can do, but make the change if you can for 2022. So thanks very much, Kelly. Appreciate that one as always. The next part of it really for me to find out a bit about yourself is self-reflection. And what I like to ask all my guests is, how are you self-reflecting at the moment? Is there a specific book that you're reading at the minute you could share with everybody, or something that is about self-reflecting in training? Is it being a connection? How do you self-reflect? How often?
I mean, it's like every moment. it just is like, how am I presenting myself? Who am I being? And am I allowing that to guide what I'm doing? And what I mean by that is, I'm constantly asking myself, who do I need to be a remarkable leader? Or who do I need to be to show up as the best loving partner that I can to my husband? I'm reading several books right now. Right now, though, the top one that I'm reading is called The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk, because my talk is on trauma and using it as a bridge to connect to each other. So it's really about how trauma imprints on the body and how we become trauma adapted. And of course, the first chapter is all about him working with Vietnam vet soldiers. You know what I mean? So like in my work with the military, that's very helpful to be able to have some kind of framework to talk to them about it. But that's a great book. I mean, one of the books that I live by are the 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. I mean, I could keep going on and on. There's so many great books out there, and I would say to those people who are out there thinking, I don't have time to read. Well, make the time.
Yeah.
Make the time, and like for you, when you were talking about being in your car, one of the things I used to do when I was driving around a lot was make my car my classroom. So I'd hook up Audible and just listen to a book. Mm-hmm. Or when I wake up in the morning and I'm getting ready, I, listen to something that's gonna enrich my life and indirectly enrich the lives of my clients. So
I think it's that educational piece as well. And I love that about the sort of self-reflecting, not just for business, but also personal, looking at your family, looking at business, try and get that balance. We're all business owners I speak to recently, the biggest challenge that they have when we talk about self-reflection is that I haven't got enough time. Well, you've got 168 hours of the week. And if you looked at a working week, Monday to Friday, on an average, you work 10 hours a day, roughly. So we've got 50 hours to play with. That's a lot of time for us to play with and to fit what we need to get done in that time. And it's being more productive with the time that you've got, where you can fill those gaps in. And again, having time to read or to do self sort of teaching, learnings, make the time with Audible, put the headphones on, go for a run, walk, jog, waddle, however you want to do it. You can listen into it as well. I think that's a really good point.
Well, yeah. And it's not that you don't have the time, you're choosing not to make the time. And what I would say is, what are you committed to more than developing yourself? I mean, like, I'll give you an example, Lee. Like, one of my military guys, in order to get involved in his kids' lives, decided to be part of his daughter's Girl Scout troop. Well, what ended up happening was, the Girl Scout troop people that were surrounding, like, and supporting were very negative and gossipy, and they were basically energy vampires, and he would come home drained. And I was like, okay, what's the tap out point? And he said, what do you mean? And I said, you come onto our sessions completely drained. You're spending a lot of time like mitigating a lot of gossip via email and text chains and all of that. That was not the intention to support your daughter. So what are you going to do? And, at the time, it took him a little bit, but he came to, the conclusion himself that he had to, like, after this year, he wasn't going to do it again. Because he wasn't showing up the way he wanted to for his daughter. And like, it was draining his energy. So it was taking from, remember I said energy management, emotional regulation. Well, both of those were out of whack with this situation. And thus it was taking away other things he could commit to develop himself as a human and as a leader. So
I think it's important. It's also important as well, what you just mentioned there is actually, you talk about the balance. Talk about people taking the energy from you, but it's also the point of the matter is you've got to say no sometimes. If you cannot physically do it, don't try and overdo it. You've got to say, listen, no, and you've got to be disciplined to do that as well. So some great points there shared again, Kelly. Thank you very much for that one. Thanks again for today. Really appreciate it. For everybody who's watching and listening, how can they contact you? How they've heard something through our talk today, through the video, they've watched through it, they've picked something and got, I need to contact Kelly. How can they make contact with you?
Yeah, so you can either Google my name, because you will find a lot of, like, you will find me on social media. My last name is spelled M as in Mary, E, R as in Robert, B as in boy, O, T as in Tom, T as in Tom, kellymeerbott.com, or you can email me at Kelly, Kelly, at youloudandclear.com, which is all spelled out. So there's several ways, but yeah, that's the way you can get in touch with me. And I would love to help you transform into the leader that I know everybody has the potential to be. So
thank you very much, Kelly. And I'd highly recommend everybody who's watching and listening today to reach out to Kelly, organize the conversation, book in a Zoom call, have a virtual cup of coffee, and have a chinwag, have a good natter about each other's business, because no doubt you will find opportunities in the conversations that are available between everybody now. And it's nice that we're actually bridging the gap across the pond as well. So once again, Kelly, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Lee. And, the work that you're doing is so important too. And so business owners who really want to hone and revitalize their business, reach out to this man, because he knows what he's doing. I've met a lot of people over 13 years who've said they know what they're doing in this arena. He does. Do it. No, you're not going to waste your time. So
thank you so much, Kelly. Thank you very much. And thank you to you all for watching and for listening today. Stay tuned on the channel to hear more from fabulous entrepreneurs and global business professionals from across the business network, across the globe. Stay tuned, stay subscribed, and we look forward to seeing you very soon for a cuppa and conversation with Revitalise Meets. Take care, everybody. Stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, keep connecting. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye for now.